Section 9 of A Cruising Voyage Around the World. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by K. Hand. A Cruising Voyage Around the World by Woodes Rogers. Juan Fernandez to Lobos and Northward. We did not get to anchor till 6 at night on February 1st, and then it fell calm. We rowed and towed into the anchor ground about a mile offshore, 45 fathom water, clean ground. The current sets mostly along shore to the southward. This morning we cleared up ship and unbent our sails, and got them ashore to mend and make tents for our sick men. The governor, though we might as well have named him the absolute monarch of the island, for so we called Mr. Selkirk, caught us 2 goats which make excellent broth, mixed with turnip tops and other greens, for our sick men, being 21 in all, but not above 2 that we account dangerous. The Dutchess has more men sick and in a worse condition than ours. February 3rd. Yesterday in the afternoon we got as many of our men ashore as could be spared from clearing and fitting our ship to wood and water. Our sail makers are all mending our sails, and I lent the Dutchess one to assist them. This morning we got our smith's forge put up ashore, set our coopers to work in another place, and made a little tent for myself to have the benefit of the shore. The Dutchess has also a tent for their sick men, so that we have a little town of our own here, and every body is employed. A few men supply us all with fish of several sorts, all very good, as silverfish, rockfish, pollock, cavallos, old wives, and crawfish in such abundance, that in a few hours we could take as many as would serve some hundreds of men. There were sea fowls in the bay as large as geese, but eat fish. The governor never failed of getting us 2 or 3 goats a day for our sick men, by which with the help of the greens and the goodness of the air they recovered very fast of the scurvy, which was their general distemper. 'Twas very pleasant ashore among the green pimento trees, which cast a refreshing smell. Our house was made by putting up a sail round 4 of 'em, and covering it a top with another sail, so that Captain Dover and I both thought it a very agreeable seat, the weather being neither too hot nor too cold. We spent our time till the 10th in refitting our ships, taking wood on board and laying up water, that which we brought from England, and St. Vincent being spoiled by the badness of the casks. We likewise boiled up about 80 gallons of Sea Lion's oil, as we might have done several Tuns, had we been provided with vessels, &c. We refined and strained it for the use of our lamps and to save our candles, though sailors sometimes use it to fry their meat, when straitened for want of butter, &c. and say 'tis agreeable enough. The men who worked ashore on our rigging eat young seals, which they preferred to our ship's victuals, and said was as good as English lamb, though for my own part I should have been glad of such an exchange. We made what haste we could to get all necessaries on board, being willing to lose no time, for we were informed at the Canaries that 5 stout French ships were coming together to these seas. February 11th. Yesterday in the evening, having little or nothing to do with the pinnace, we sent her to the south end of the island to get goats. The governor told us, that during his stay he could not get down to that end from the mountains where he lived, they were so steep and rocky, but that there were abundance of goats there, and that part of the island was plainer. Captain Dampier, Mr. Glendall, and the governor, with 10 men, set out in company with the Dutchess's boat and crew, and surrounded a great parcel of goats, which are of a larger sort, and not so wild as those on the higher part of the island where the governor lived. But not looking well to 'em, they escaped over the cliff, so that instead of catching above 100, as they might easily have done with a little precaution, they returned this morning with only 16 large ones, though they saw above 1000. If any ships come again to this Island, the best way is to keep some Men and Dogs at that part of the Island, and sending a Boat to them once in 24 hours, they may victual a good body of Men, and no doubt but amongst those Goats they may find some hundreds with Mr. Selkirk's earmark. February 12th. This morning we bent the remaining sails, got the last wood and water aboard, brought off our men, and got every thing ready to depart. The Island of Juan Fernandez is nearest of a triangular form, about 12 leagues round. The southwest side is much the longest, and has a small Island about a mile long lying near it, with a few visible rocks close under the shore of the great Island. On this side begins a ridge of high mountains that run cross from the southwest to the northwest of the Island, and the land that lies out in a narrow point to the westward appears to be the only level ground here. On the Northeast side 'tis very high Land, and under it are the 2 Bays where Ships always put in to recruit. The best Bay is next the middle on this side the Island, which is to be known at a distance by the highest Table Mountain right over this Bay. You may anchor as near as you will to the Shore, and the nearer the better. The best Road is on the Larboard side of the Bay, and the nearest the Eastermost Shore; provided you get well in, you cannot mistake the Road. The other Bay is plain to be seen under the North End, but not so good for wood, water, or landing, nor so safe for riding. In this Bay where we rode, there's plenty of good water and wood; the best water is in a small Cove about a good Musket shot to the Eastward of the place I have described. You may ride from a mile to a Bow shot off the Shore, being all deep water and bold, without any danger round the Island, but what is visible and very near in. This Bay where we rode is open to near half the Compass. The Eastermost Land in sight bore E by S distance about a mile and a half, and the outermost Northwest Point of the Island lies something without our Bay, and bears N W by W distant a good League. We were about a mile off the Shore, and had 45 Fathom Water, clean sandy Ground; we were design'd to have ran farther in, and new moor'd, but Mr. Selkirk inform'd us that this Month proves the fairest in the Year, and that during Winter and Summer the whole time he was here, he seldom knew the Wind to blow off from the Sea, but only in small Breezes that never brought in a Sea, nor held 2 hours. But he warn'd us to be on our guard against the Wind off shore, which blew very strong sometimes. The Bay is all deep water, and you may carry in Ships close to the Rocks, if occasion require. The Wind blows always over the Land, and at worst along shore, which makes no Sea. It's for the most part calm at night, only now and then a Flaw blows from the high Land over us. Near the Rocks there are very good Fish of several sorts, particularly large Crawfish under the Rocks easy to be caught; also Cavillilies, Gropers, and other good Fish in so great plenty anywhere near the Shore, that I never saw the like, but at the best fishing Season in Newfoundland. Pimento is the best Timber, and most plentiful on this side the Island, but very apt to split till a little dryed. We cut the longest and cleanest to split for Firewood. The Cabbage trees abound about 3 miles in the Woods, and the Cabbage very good; most of 'em are on the tops of the nearest and lowest Mountains. In the first Plain we found store of Turnip Greens and Watercresses in the Brooks, which mightily refresh'd our Men, and cleansed 'em from the Scurvy. The Turnips, Mr. Selkirk told us, are good in our Summer Months, which is Winter here; but this being Autumn, they are all run to seed, so that we can't have the benefit of anything but the Greens. The Soil is a loose black Earth, the Rocks very rotten, so that without great care it's dangerous to climb the Hills for Cabbages. Besides, there are abundance of holes dug in several places by a sort of Fowls like Puffins, which fall in at once, and endanger the wrenching or breaking of a man's leg. Mr. Selkirk tells me, in July he has seen Snow and Ice here, but the Spring, which is in September, October, and November, is very pleasant, when there's abundance of good Herbs, as Parsley, Purslane, Siths in great plenty, besides an Herb found by the water side, which proved very useful to our Surgeon for fomentations. 'Tis not much unlike Feverfew, of a very grateful smell like Balm, but of a stronger and more cordial scent. 'Tis in great plenty near the Shore. We gather'd many large Bundles of it, dry'd 'em in the shade, and sent 'em on board, besides great quantities that we carried in every morning to strow the Tents, which tended much to the speedy recovery of our sick Men, of whom none died but 2 belonging to the Dutchess, viz. Edward Wilts and Christopher Williams. Mr. Selkirk tells me, that in November the Seals come ashore to whelp and engender, when the Shore is so full of 'em for a stone's throw that 'tis impossible to pass through them, and they are so surly that they'll not move out of the way, but like an angry Dog run at a man though he have a good stick to beat them, so that at this and their whelping Seasons 'tis dangerous to come near them, but at other times they'll make way for a man, and if they did not 'twould be impossible to get up from the water side. They line the Shore very thick for above half a mile of ground all round the Bay. When we came in, they kept a continual noise day and night, some bleating like Lambs, some howling like Dogs or Wolves, others making hideous noises of various sorts, so that we heard 'em aboard, though a mile from the Shore. Their Fur is the finest that I ever saw of the kind, and exceeds that of our Otters. Another strange Creature here is the Sea Lion. The Governor tells me he has seen of them above 20 foot long and more in compass, which could not weigh less than 2 Tun weight. I saw several of these vast Creatures, but none of the above mention'd size. Several of 'em were upward of 16 Foot long, and more in bulk, so that they could not weigh less than a Tun weight. The shape of their Body differs little from the Sea Dogs or Seals, but have another sort of Skin, a Head much bigger in proportion, and very large Mouths, monstrous big Eyes, and a Face like that of a Lion, with very large Whiskers, the Hair of which is stiff enough to make Tooth pickers. These Creatures come ashore to engender the latter end of June, and stay till the end of September, during all which time they lie on the Land, and are never observed to go to the water, but lie in the same place above a Musket shot from the water side, and have no manner of sustenance all that time that he could observe. I took notice of some that lay a week, without once offering to move out of the place whilst I was there, till they were disturbed by us. But we saw few in comparison of what he informs us he did, and that the Shore was all crowded full of them a Musket shot into the Land. I admire how these Monsters come to yield such a quantity of Oil; their Hair is short and coarse, and their Skin thicker than the thickest Ox hide I ever saw. We found no Land Bird on the Island, but a sort of Black Bird with a red Breast, not unlike our English Blackbirds, and the Humming Bird of various Colours, and no bigger than a large Humble Bee. Here is a small Tide, which flows uncertain, and the Spring Tide flows about 7 foot. I shall not trouble the Reader with the Descriptions of this Island given by others, wherein there are many Falsehoods, but the truth of this I can assert from my own Knowledge. Nor shall I insert the Description of the Cabbage and Pimento Trees, being so well known and so frequently done, that there's no manner of need for it. I have insisted the longer upon this Island, because it might be at first of great use to those who would carry on any Trade to the South Sea. February 13. At a Committee held on board the Dutchess the 13th of February 1708/9. It was agreed as follows. Resolved to steer from Juan Fernandez N. E. by E. for the Land, and when come within 6 Leagues of the Shore to keep that distance, steering along shore to the Northward. The next place we design to stop at, to build our Boats and land our Men, is the Island of Lobos de la Mar. In case of losing Company, to wait for each other 20 Leagues to the Northward of the place where we accounted we were when we separated. Then to lie at 6 Leagues distance from the Shore the space of 4 days, and to proceed with an easy Sail for Lobos, in case of not meeting, taking special care of the Rocks called Ormigos, lying about that distance off from Cayo, the Sea Port of the City of Lima. In case of seeing one or more Sail, the Signal for chasing, if not out of call, is to clew up our Main Top Gallant Sheets with the Yards aloft. And the general Method we design to take in chasing, is, for the Ship that sails best, or is nearest the Chase, to chase directly after the Sail discovered; and the other to keep to or from the Shore at a convenient distance, as occasion shall require, to prevent being known. And if the Ship that is nearest the Chase believes her to be too big for one Ship alone, then to make the same Signal, or any other plainer to be distinguish'd than the Signal for the Chase. And if either Ship comes up with the Chase, and have her in possession or under command, if in the day, to show a white Jack on the Main Top Mast head; and if in the night, to make 2 false Fires, and carry as plain Lights as possible. To leave off Chase, the Signal by night is 1 good Light at the Main Top Mast head, and to fire no Gun, but in a Fog, or very thick Weather, either night or day, to prevent being discovered. To leave off Chase by day, the Signal is to haul down the Top Sails, keeping out our Main Top Gallant Stay Sail, and in case of losing Company we refer ourselves to our weekly Signals to discover each other. In case either Ship in chase or otherways should run into any danger of shoal water or other kind, then the Ship in such danger is to fire a Gun with a shot, and to stand from it. In case of a separation, each Ship as they enter Lobos, to carry an English Pennant at the foretop Mast head, and if the other happens to be there, she must show her English Colours. And if either Ship anchor short of the road, she shall put out 3 Lights, viz. at the Main top Mast head, Poop, Bolt sprit end. Either Ship arriving at Lobos, and not finding his Consort there, he is immediately to set up 2 Crosses, one at the Landing place nearest the farther end of the Starboard great Island going in, with a Glass Bottle hid under ground 20 Yards directly north from each Cross, with Intelligence of what has happened since parting, and what their further Designs are. This is to be done, and in readiness, that if they give chase, or be forced out by the Enemy, the missing Ship may not want Intelligence from her Consort. We began this Method at Cork, to secure the best place we could possible to rendezvous at, hoping by this means and our Signals always to keep company, and know each other through the whole Voyage. These Directions being something particular, made me insert them in the Journal. February 13. Yesterday in the afternoon we sent our yawl a fishing, and got near 200 large Fish in a very little time, which we salted for our future spending. This morning we concluded what we began last night, being the foregoing Agreement to direct our Affairs from this Place, and as all our Success depends on a strict Secrecy, the Precautions may not be useless. February 14. Yesterday about 3 in the afternoon we weighed, had a fair pleasant Gale at S.S.E. Mr. Vanbrugh came on board our Ship again and exchanged with Mr. Bath, I hope for the best. Course, North Latitude 32° 32', Longitude West from London 83° 6'. February 16. Had moderate Gales of Wind with Calms. This morning I went on board the Dutchess with Captain Dover and Captain Dampier, and dined there. Wind at South. February 17. Most part of this 24 hours was calm and cloudy Weather. About 10 a clock we hoisted our Boat out, and fetch'd Captain Courtney and Captain Cook to dine with us. Whilst they were on board, we settled and signed the following Instrument, one for each Ship, further to secure our Methods, and to regulate the Affair of Plunder, which if well follow'd, will prevent the bad Effects of so dangerous an Obstacle to our good Proceedings, which has proved too hard a Task for all others in our time that have gone out on the same account so far from Great Britain; which I believe is chiefly owing either to want of Unity or good Measures. God be thank'd we have a good Concord between each Ship's Company hitherto. At a Committee held by the Officers of the Duke and Dutchess, 17th February, 1708/9. Mr. George Underhill, Mr. David Wilson, Mr. Lance Appleby, Mr. Sam Worden. You being chosen by the Officers and Men on board the Duke, to be Managers of the Plunder which we may take in our cruising at Sea on the Coast of New Spain, 'tis our Order that Mr. Lance Appleby and Mr. Samuel Worden do go and continue aboard the Dutchess, in the place of 2 other Men from them, who are to search all Persons that return from such Prize or Prizes that may be taken by either Ship; as also all Persons that the Captains of either Ship shall give leave, whose Advice you are continually to follow, and apply to them for Assistance if occasion require; and immediately to inform of any Persons belonging to either Ship that shall be perceived to use clandestine Methods to hide Plunder, or endeavour to avoid the searching them. If the Ships Duke and Dutchess are separated when any Prize is taken, then one of you is to be on board the Prize, and the other to remain on board the Ship; and in each place be very strict, and keep an exact account of what comes to your hands, and as soon as possible secure it in such manner as the Captain of either Ship shall direct, still observing the command of the superior Officer on board the Prize, who is also to assist you to the utmost of his power. If any Person not concerned in this Order, nor employed in the same by Captain Courtney, concerns himself with the Plunder, except the commanding Officer, you are to forbid him; and if he disobeys, to give immediate information of such Person or Persons. You are not to encumber the Boats with Chests or Plunder out of any Prize at first coming aboard, but mind what you see. And the first thing you are to do, is to take account of what you find aboard that is Plunder, and remove nothing without the Captains of either Ship's Orders; or in case of their absence, the chief Officer or Officers of either Ship that shall be aboard the Prize, to avoid trouble and disturbance. You are by no means to be rude in your Office, but to do every thing as quiet and easy as possible, and to demean yourselves so towards those employed by Captain Courtney, that we may have no manner of disturbance or complaint; still observing that you be not overawed nor deceived of what is your due, in behalf of the Officers and Men. The Persons appointed to be Managers by the Dutchess were the underwritten, John Connely, Simon Fleming, Simon Hatley, Bartholomew Rowe. To whom the foregoing Orders were also given and signed by the Committee. Thomas Dover President, Woodes Rogers, Stephen Courtney, William Dampier, Edward Cook, Robert Fry, Charles Pope, Thomas Glendall, Carleton Vanbrugh, John Bridge, William Stratton, John Rogers, John Connely, William Bath, George Milbourne, John Ballet. February 17. Captain Courtney and Captain Cook being aboard, we agreed that Mr. Appleby should appear for the Officers on board the Dutchess, and Samuel Worden for the Men. Mr. Simon Hatley and Simon Fleming were to have the like charge on board of us, to manage the Plunder according to the foregoing Orders. February 18. About 3 yesterday afternoon we saw the Main distant 9 Leagues, its very high Land with several Islands. February 28. Yesterday afternoon we came within about 6 Leagues of very high Land. This morning we put both Pinnaces in the water to try them under Sail, having fix'd them with each a Gun after the manner of a Paterero, and all things necessary for small Privateers, hoping they'll be serviceable to us in little Winds to take Vessels. Wind at South and S by E. March 1. Having little Wind and smooth Water, we heel'd both Ships and tallow'd. March 2. We are in sight of Land, distant 12 or 14 Leagues. Within the Country there's a vast high Ridge of Mountains, named Cordilleras, all along this Course. Some parts I believe are full as high, if not higher, than the Pico Teneriff, with Snow on the top. We had a good Observation, Latitude 17° 3', Longitude 70° 29', West from London. March 4. Fine pleasant Weather with fresh Gales of Wind. This day we came to an Allowance of 3 Pints of Water a Man per day, tho we had a good Stock aboard. My reason for it was, that we might keep at Sea some time and take some Prizes, and not be forced to discover our selves by watering, before we attempted any thing ashore. Because an Enemy being once discovered, there's nothing of value, as I'm inform'd, puts to Sea from one end of the Coast to the other. They have great Conveniences of giving notice by Expresses and strict Orders for all Officers on the Shore to keep Lookers out upon every Headland. March 8. Fine pleasant Weather, a brisk Gale at S E. At 3 this morning we lay by, and at 6 saw the Land distant about 14 Leagues, after which I made sail. The Dutchess had a Boy fell out of the Mizen top down on the Deck and broke his Leg, of which he is in a fair way to recover. Latitude 12° 31', Longitude 84° 58'. March 9. Fair Weather, a moderate Gale at S E. We go under an easy Sail, in hopes of seeing rich Ships either going or coming out of Lima, being now near it. We keep about 7 Leagues from shore, to prevent our being discovered. We shall not lie long there, but design to go for Lobos to build our Boats, and get things ready to land at Guiaquil. March 10. Pleasant Weather, moderate Gales at S E. This morning, perceiving white Rocks at a distance which looked like Ships, we brought to, and sent our Boats under the shore, having kept them ready astern 4 days, that if we saw a Sail near the shore, they might take to them, to prevent their discovering us to those on the Continent. March 13. Fair Weather, moderate Gales at S E. This morning we ran near Land, and the Dutchess kept in the offing, to see if we could meet any of the Traders, there being, as I am inform'd, Ships of good value sometimes on this Coast. Our Men began to repine, that though come so far, we have met with no Prize in these Seas. March 14. The Nights are very cold in comparison of the Days, which are warm enough, but not so hot as I expected in this Latitude. Here's never any Rain, but great Dews in the Night, almost equivalent to it, though the Air be generally serene. At 8 last night we hailed up N.N.W. for the Island Lobos. March 15. We saw Land yesterday, and supposing it was Lobos, stood off and on all night. In the morning it proved very hazy till 10, when we saw it again right ahead, but we stood nearer till we were convinced it was not Lobos, but the main Land of Peru within it. So we stood off at 12 and had a good Observation, Latitude 6° 55'. March 16. Yesterday afternoon we spied a Sail, our Consort being nearest soon took her. She was a little Vessel of about 16 Tun, belonging to Payta, and bound to Cheripe for Flour, with a small sum of Money aboard to purchase it. The Master's name was Antonio Heliagos, a Mustis, begotten between an Indian and a Spaniard. His Company was 8 Men, one of them a Spaniard, one a Negro, and the rest Indians. We'd asked them for News, and they assur'd us that all the French Ships, being 7 in number, sailed out of these Seas 6 months ago, and that no more were to return; adding, that the Spaniards had such an aversion to them, that at Cayo, the Seaport for Lima, they kill'd so many of the French, and quarrel'd so frequently with 'em, that none were suffered to come ashore there for some time before they sailed from thence. After we had put Men aboard the Prize, we haled off close on a Wind for Lobos, having shot within it, and had we not been better inform'd by the Crew of the Prize, might have endanger'd our Ships by running in farther, because there are Shoals between the Island and the Main. The Prisoners tell us there had been no Enemy in those parts since Captain Dampier, which is above 4 years ago. They likewise inform'd us that Captain Stradling's Ship the Cinque Ports, who was Dampier's consort, foundered on the coast of Barbacore, where he with 6 or 7 of his men were only saved, and being taken in their boat had been 4 years prisoners at Lima, where they lived much worse than our Governor Selkirk, whom he left on the Island Juan Fernandez. This morning we saw the Island Lobos, which bore south about 4 Leagues at noon, it bore south by west distant 6 miles. We sent our Pinnace thither, mann'd and arm'd, to see if there were any Fishermen upon it and secure them, lest they should discover us to the people on the Main. March 17. Yesterday about 5 in the Evening we got well into anchor, but found nobody at the Island. We had 20 fathom Water, clean ground in the Thoroughfare between the 2 Islands, above a Cable's length from each shore. 'Tis a bold going in and a good Road, the Wind blowing constantly over Land. We resolved here to fit out our small Bark for a Privateer, she being well built for sailing, and this morning we had her into a small round Cove in the Southernmost Island, where we haul'd her up dry on the Land. The Carpenters also got the Timber ashore to build our Boat for landing Men. March 18. In the Evening we launch'd our small Privateer, having clean'd her bottom well, call'd her the Beginning, and appointed Captain Cook to command her. We got a small spare Mast out of our Ship, which made her a new Main Mast, and our Mizentop Sail was alter'd to make her a Mainsail. The Dutchess heel'd and clean'd their Ship. This morning I got all our sick Men ashore, and built Tents for them. The Dutchess also landed hers. We agreed to stay the building of our Boat and fitting out the Privateer, while the Dutchess cruised about the Island, and in sight of the Main. March 19. Yesterday afternoon we sent the Yawl a fishing, got the Bark rigg'd and almost ready, with 4 Swivel Guns and a Deck near finish'd. This morning the Dutchess sailed a cruising, and appointed to meet the Bark off the southeast end of the Island. March 20. The Bark being got ready, this morning we victualled her out of our Ship, and put 20 of ours and 12 of our Consort's men aboard her well arm'd. I saw her out of the Harbour with our Pinnace, she looks very pretty, and I believe will sail well in smooth water, having all Masts, Sails, Riggings, and Materials, like one of the half Galleys fitted out for her Majesty's service in England. They gave our Ship's Company 3 Huzzas, and we return'd them the like at parting. I told Captain Cook if we should be forced out of the road, or give chase hence, we would leave a glass bottle buried near a remarkable great stone that I showed him, with letters in it, to give an account how it was with us, of the occasion of our departure, and where to meet again. I bid him acquaint Captain Courtney with it. March 22. This morning a Spaniard belonging to us, named Silvester Ramos, died suddenly, and we buried him at night. Most of our men are healthy, except 2 or 3 who are ill of the scurvy. March 23. This morning we began to scrub our Ship, and cleared abundance of Barnacles off her bottom almost as large as Mussels. A Ship grows foul very fast in these Seas. March 25. We caught plenty of very good Fish. The Seals are numerous here, but not so many as at Juan Fernandez. A large one seized a stout Dutchman, had like to have pull'd him into the water, and bit him to the bone in several places, in one of his arms and legs. March 26. This morning the Dutchess came in with a prize called the Santa Josepha, bound from Guiaquil to Truxillo, burden about 50 tons, full of Timber, with some Cocoa and Cocoa Nuts, and Tobacco, which we distributed among our men. The Dutchess and Beginning took her between this Island and the Main. She had very little of value on board. March 27. This morning we gave our Ship a good heel, and tallowed her low down. A Dutchman belonging to the Dutchess died of the scurvy ashore, and was buried on the Island. March 30. Yesterday afternoon we got the second prize, which we called the Increase, aboard us, and cleaned her. We brought all off shore, and launch'd our new Boat to tow at our stern, and at 10 o'clock came to sail, after we had put Mr. Stratton to command the Beginning, and all our sick men and a doctor of each Ship aboard the Increase, of which Mr. Selkirk, our second Mate, was appointed master. By observation we had here, this Island lies in Latitude 6° 50' South, the Variation 30° 30' Easterly, and I reckon it lies in the Longitude of 87° 35' West from London. The 2 largest Islands, called Lobos de la Mar, to distinguish them from others called Lobos de la Terra, within 2 Leagues of the Land, are about 16 Leagues from the Main, and 6 miles in length. There's another small Island close by the eastermost to windward, not half a mile long, with some rocks and breakers near the shore, all round and off of each side of the entrance to the road, which is bold and has no visible danger. There's a passage for boats to windward to come into the Road, which is to the leeward of these Islands in a Sound between them. 'Tis not half a mile broad, but above a mile deep, has from 10 to 20 fathom water, and good Anchor ground. There's no coming in for Ships, but to leeward of the Islands. We went in with a small Weather Tide, tho I never perceiv'd it flow above 3 foot whilst we lay here. The Wind commonly blows Southerly, veering a little to the Eastward. On the Eastermost Island, which was on our Larboard side as we lay at Anchor in the Sound, there is a round Hummock, and behind it a small Cove, very smooth, deep, and convenient enough for a Ship to careen in. There we haul'd up, and fitted our little Frigate. The highest part of the Island appears in the Road, not much higher than a large Ship's top mast head. The Soil is a hungry white clayish Earth, mix'd with Sand and Rocks. There's no fresh Water or green things on the Islands. There's abundance of Vultures, alias Carrion Crows, which look'd so like Turkeys that one of our Officers at landing bless'd himself at the sight, and hoped to fare deliciously here. He was so eager that he would not stay till the Boat could put him ashore, but leap'd into the water with his Gun, and getting near enough to a parcel, let fly at him; but when he came to take up his game, it stunk insufferably, and made us merry at his mistake. The other Birds here are Penguins, Pelicans, Boobies, Gulls, and a sort of Fowls like Teal, that nestle in holes on the Land. Our Men got loads of him, which they skinn'd, and praised them for very good Meat. We found abundance of Bulrushes and empty Jars that the Spanish Fishermen had left ashore. All over this Coast they use Jars instead of Casks for Oil, Wine, and all other sorts of Liquids. Here's abundance of Seals and some Sea Lions. The Seals are much larger than at Juan Fernandez, but the Fur not so fine. Our people killed several with a design to eat their Livers, but one of our Crew, a Spaniard, died suddenly after eating 'em. I forbade the use of 'em. Our Prisoners told us, they accounted those old Seals very unwholesome. The Wind always blowing fresh over the Land, brought an ugly noisome Smell above from the Seals ashore, which gave me a violent Headache, and every body else complain'd of this nauseous Smell. We found nothing so offensive at Juan Fernandez. Our Prisoners tell us, they expect the Widow of the late Viceroy of Peru would shortly embark for Acapulco, with her Family and Riches, and stop at Payta to refresh, or sail near in sight as customary, in one of the King's Ships of 36 Guns; and that about 8 months ago there was a Ship with 200,000 pieces of 8 aboard, the rest of her Cargo Liquors and Flour, which had passed Payta for Acapulco. She would have been a welcome Prize to us, but since she is gone, it's not worth while to follow her. Our Prisoners added, that they left Senior Morel in a stout Ship with dry Goods for Lima, recruiting at Payta, where he expected in a few days a French built Ship belonging to the Spaniards to come from Panama richly laden, with a Bishop aboard. Payta is a common recruiting place to those who go to or from Lima, or most Ports to windward, in their Trade to Panama, or any part of the Coast of Mexico. Upon this Advice we agreed to spend as much time as possible cruising off of Payta, without discovering our selves, for fear of hindring our other Designs. At these Islands Captain Dampier in his last Voyage left his Ship the St. George at Anchor, and went to the East Indies in a Spanish Brigantine, with about 25 Men. After he had plunder'd Puna in 1704, and water'd his small Bark near it, he endured many hardships, and for want of his Commission to show, which he lost at Puna, he was imprisoned, and had all his Goods seized in the Indies by the Dutch. Before we came hither, we held a Committee, and publish'd an Order in both Ships, forbidding our Officers or Men on severe Penalties to hold any Correspondence, or talk any thing that in the least concerns the Voyage, with our Prisoners, which was strictly observed to prevent the discovery of our Designs to the Spaniards. April 1. Small Gales, fair clear Weather. This morning I went in our Yawl on board the Dutchess, and afterwards spoke with the Beginning. We agreed how to act, in case we see more than one Sail at a time to chase. April 2. Yesterday in the Afternoon we were surprised with the Colour of the Water, which look'd as red as blood for several miles, occasioned by the Spawn of Fish. This morning at Daybreak we spied a Sail about 2 Leagues to windward. We immediately hoisted out and mann'd our Pinnace, commanded by Mr. Frye, my chief Lieutenant, who by 8 in the morning took the Ship. She was called the Ascension, built Galleon fashion, very high with Galleries, burden'd between 400 and 500 Tun, 2 brothers being Commanders, viz. Joseph and John Morel. She was laden with dry Goods and Timber, had above 50 Negroes, and several Passengers bound from Panama to Lima. April 3. We immediately mann'd this Prize, took some of the Spaniards out of her, and put in Mr. Frye Commander. We found a good Stock of fresh Provisions on board. In the Evening we saw another Sail, which the Beginning took, and brought her to the rest this Morning. She was a Vessel of 35 Tuns, laden with Timber from Guiaquil to the Chansey, near Lima. The Master's Name was Juan, the Crew 11 white Men and 1 Negro. We agreed with the Dutchess and Beginning when and where to meet, and having all our Stations appointed, they left us. We were inform'd by the Prisoners that the Bishop of Chokeaqua, a place far up the Country in the South Parts of Peru, was to have come from Panama in this Vessel for Lima, in his way to the said Bishoprick; but the Ship springing a leak at Panama, he went on board a French built Ship belonging to the Spaniards that was following them for Lima, but would stop at Payta to recruit, as the Morels had done. Being near that place, we resolved to watch narrowly in order to catch the Ship with his Lordship. April 4. About 6 in the Evening we parted with Mr. Frye in the great Prize, having order'd him with the 2 other Prizes to keep together, and ply about 8 Leagues off shore in sight of the Hummocks called the Saddle of Payta, because they appear in that shape with low Land betwixt 'em. We stood in for the shore, and next morning saw a Ship to leeward, and gave chase. She made a Signal, by which we knew her to be the Dutchess; but being at a distance, and we not having kept out our Signal long enough, they did not see it. We kept on sail till we came near her, which made them clear their Ship in order to fight. I did this to surprize them, and at noon went on board. April 5. I kept the Dutchess company till the Evening, and whilst I was on board her, the Beginning came down to us. We agreed on an exact Station, the Beginning to keep close in with Payta, the Dutchess 8 Leagues to leeward, and I to lie right off of Payta about 7 or 8 Leagues a little to windward. Just as the Sun set I left them. They fancied they saw a Sail, and chased in great haste, but we saw nothing except the blowing of a Whale, of which there are abundance on this Coast. Wind from the S.E. by S. to the E.S.E. April 6. We came up with our 3 Prizes about 4 o'clock in the Afternoon, and found all in good order. Mr. Frye had fitted out the great Boat we built at Lobos, which we call'd a Launch, with Sails and Oars, ready to give chase if they saw any thing in little Winds, having men enough for that end in these peaceable Seas, where they are in no fear of an Enemy. April 7. At 8 this morning the Saddle of Payta bore E.N.E. 7 Leagues, at noon N.E. distant 10 Leagues. I went on board the Galleon to Mr. Frye, and station'd him again, leaving Signals for the other 2 if he saw 'em, and after having dined on a good quarter of Mutton and Cabbage with him, which is a great rarity to us here, I came on board, in order to leave him the second time. Mr. Vanbrugh threatening to shoot one of our Men at Lobos, only for refusing to carry some carrion Crows that he shot, and having lately abused Captain Dover, as he said, the latter desired a Committee might be called to examine into Mr. Vanbrugh's conduct, and we came to the following issue: that Mr. Vanbrugh had committed sundry misdemeanours, and according to our orders, we not believing him a fit person to be one of the Committee, had chosen Mr. Samuel Hopkins in his stead, which was signed and agreed to by all the Committee in both Ships. At the same time, while we were together, we had a second Committee, which concluded as follows: We have examined and do approve of all the proceedings and transactions since our leaving the Island of Grande on the Coast of Brazil, both as to punishing offenders, our dispatch at Juan Fernandez, and staying at Lobos to build our Boat, and acting in all cases for the best of our intended Voyage to this time. In testimony of which we have set our hands the day and year above written, signed by all the chief Officers in both Ships. April 11. Yesterday afternoon we all met aboard the Duke, to consult how to act; for beginning to grow short of water, we can't keep the Sea much longer. April 12. This morning we came to a full resolution to land and attempt Guiaquil. In order thereunto we fixed 2 Barks, put Ammunition and Arms aboard them, with our 4 Quarter Deck Guns and Field Carriages. And for the management of this Expedition, we held a Committee, and resolved on the following Particulars. At a Committee held on board the Duke Frigate. We have consulted and examined sundry Pilots taken in Prizes, and had several Meetings on this occasion, being provided with convenient Vessels to carry our Men, Guns, Arms, and other Necessaries to Guiaquil. We resolved to attempt it, having also consulted the most secret way of managing our attempts on it without discovery. We do approve and appoint Captain Thomas Dover, Captain Woodes Rogers, and Captain Stephen Courtney to command the men designed to land in 3 equal parties, except 21 men with Captain William Dampier and Mr. Thomas Glendall, who are to manage and take care of the guns, ammunition, provisions, &c. which we agree to be lodged in a convenient place, as near as possible to the best landing place nearest the water side, in order to take care and help ship off the effects that we may take in the town, who are also to serve either commander where most wanted. We leave the management of this expedition wholly to the prudent conduct of the above commanders, whom we heartily wish and desire to consult each other on all occasions, as the most promising method to succeed and keep our designs secret, which is the only way to prevent the enemies removing their wealth or giving us a vigorous reception. This is our opinion, in witness whereof we have set our hands the 12th day of April, 1709. Signed by all the chief officers in both ships. Memorandum. We have considered the opinion of the foregoing committee signed this day, and do jointly concur with them, and accordingly design to prosecute it with our lives and fortunes to the utmost of our power and judgment. Witness our hands this 12th day of April, 1709. Thomas Dover, President. Woodes Rogers, Stephen Courtney. End of Section 9.